Yes, sir.
What you think about Venezuela and this U.S. conflict?
Um, it's it's interesting, bro. Like, I think that, like, my raw, honest opinion, I think that it's one of those things that it's like another media talking point. Like, in our country and just across the world, like, I feel like, the things that we choose to highlight in the news, like, I always question that in itself.
Yeah,
Um, it's very important. I think it's one of those moves that are kind of gonna set the pace for like really like the next, like 50 years. Like we're gonna see kind of how things kind of transpire as a result of um the United States like decisions to kind of step in Venezuela.
for
But
sure.
yeah, what's your thoughts?
So I think it's kind of bad and good.
Okay.
The bad part about it is, like you said, setting a precedent. Now other countries like, why can't we do the same thing?
Mm-hmm.
And even like Russia and Ukraine, it's like we say Putin a bad guy,
Mm-hmm.
but didn't he just do the same thing we just did in a sense? Like he's just protecting his national interests
Mm-hmm.
by
In
invading.
Ukraine.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's like even China trying to encircle Taiwan.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like what I think is we're just seeing empires and the strong survive like live, if
Mm-hmm.
that makes sense. Because what's the difference between the U.S. taking Venezuela, then Russia taking Ukraine, then China taking Taiwan? But we paint them people out as villains.
Yeah.
But it's like now we're like
Yeah.
superheroes
Yeah. No, well, I think all of it is imperialism.
for sure.
It all resorts back to a certain level of just like imperialism, right? Like, and the West, and United States in particular, does it the best,
Yeah,
right? So when we see imperialism happening in China and Russia and other parts of the world, um, if you ask me, like, they're just copycatting like the skills that they learned from the West, right?
for sure.
I think the one thing that the United States has always tooted its own horn about and done extremely well was having the world's strongest military, right? And when you're able to brag and boast that you got the world's strongest military, um, it when there is an opportunity to show or display that to the world,
Nah, for sure.
like we jump on that, right? And just like anything else, like it creates ripple effects
For sure.
whenever we try to exert that dominance. So I think at the end of the day, it's like it resorts back to that level of like really just imperialism. What you're talking about is, and I'm not saying that the United States is the bad guy, Russia's the bad guy, China's the bad guy. I think the whole idea of like just imperialism, like my country is gonna dominate the resources of your country. I'm gonna come in and extract the resources. I think that is like we need to be having more questions about those ideas as opposed to, you know, who's right, who's wrong, that kind of thing.
For sure. And literally, because that's my thing is like, I feel like it's chess. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like if we didn't make that move, like
Mm-hmm.
what position are we putting ourselves in if we did not?
Mm-hmm.
Meaning like, okay, it was also economic why we did that. Oil,
Mm-hmm.
they selling oil to Russia,
Yep.
China. So if we don't do that, it's like, okay, they making their moves on the chessboard, but we not.
1,000%. And one thing I'll say, just to kind of lay out like some ground level context, right? Like
And
if
just
I
right quick, do the mic right quick, just in case they, you
if
know.
I had to do like a like a for dummies version, right? Like you
Okay,
got um okay, so if you would ask me like what is Venezuela, right?
okay,
Venezuela is, it's a country in South America ultimately. Um one of it is the largest it has the largest deposits of oil in the world, like by far, right? So like you can I seen a fact that said like we could power like the world for like the next like 10-15 years off of just the oil that's in Venezuela alone,
jeez,
right? So that's number one, right? We know that for the last like few decades, the economy, the government in Venezuela has been ruled through oil and politics, right? So,
definitely,
um, and not just oil, but the wealth that was created from the oil, right?
for sure.
So just like in America, right? Like we're we're a lot we're largely ruled by, the wealthy forces, right? They have a large say so, and in the politics, right?
Definitely.
Those Most countries operate the same way.
Okay.
When I first found out about this whole Venezuela conflict, believe it or not, it was like this past weekend. My son's barber is from Venezuela.
Oh,
So
geez.
he was like, he had it on the news. He was like telling me like, "Hey, you hear about what's going on in my country?" I'm like, "No, what happened?" He's like, "Well, Trump, took the leader last night." He's like, "My whole city's like everybody's happy." He's like, "I'm happy about it." And I thought that was interesting. That was my first like, okay, let me do some more research onto this and figure out what's going on, because why is he happy, right? As somebody that's from, like, what does that mean, right?
Yeah.
What is, and then you look on the news and you see people like rejoicing in the streets and like everybody's happy. I'm like, what does that actually mean? What was life like before for y'all to be happy, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know. That just made me think about like, just like in the United States, right? Like if somebody were to come and extract our president out of if they took our president out of the White House and took him to another country and tried him in a court, right?
Yeah.
Would there be an entire group of like, people that are rejoicing in the streets that's happy?
100%.
100%. So when I think about like the news and what they show on TV, I'm like, okay, well, this is only half of the story, right?
Point.
There's probably another half of people that's probably like, I really wish they didn't take him.
Literally.
You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
really wish they left him. And when I look back at like, because I try to find like different point of views, I try to find point of views that support the leader of Venezuela, right? And
Right.
what we're talking about is we're talking about a sovereign nation, right? A nation of Venezuela who has its own bylaws, system. They have their like we actually have to talk about how crazy it is for another outside foreign nation to come in,
Yeah.
right?
Scoop their president.
Scoop up their president, bro, and then leave in the middle of the night, and now their government is now like like it's toppled now. It's like it's crumbled, and now they got to be put in a situation where they get rebuilt. And the United
Yeah.
States is really good at doing this, right? We're really good at going into these struggling nations, is what we label them on the news and stuff. But oftentimes these places are extremely socialist, number one, and they are anti-imperialism,
Yeah.
right? So like the government in Venezuela is against countries coming in and pulling, raping resources,
No
right?
doubt.
Like the president of Libya, he was killed under Barack Obama's reign, um, Muammar Gaddafi, and if you look at what Libya was like before that happened, you understand like, oh wow, this guy wasn't he was an anti-capitalist, right? And anytime you pose a threat to capitalism, one, but like also pose a threat to like petrol, like oil, like the dot, like
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm a firm believer. Like I think this whole world is ran on oil.
Yep.
Like if you could trace most things back to some type of oil, just like dispute, some in my experience, like the research that I've done, all the roads lead back to some type of oil
Resources.
transactions, resources.
For
Yep,
sure.
yep.
And to your point, I feel like America, we're good at taking out leadership, but not good at like keeping countries stable.
It's not our place to keep them stable. Like I think it's not our place at all. Like
Yeah.
personally, right? Like of course, like I was just talking about this with my girl yesterday, because I'm like, bro, you got to understand, the United States has to protect their own interests, right? Like there are, if let's say for example, you know, Venezuela links up with the BRICS nations and like links up with like our people that are not our allies,
And
right?
that's what
And
they
they
was
start
doing.
and that's
Yeah.
what they were doing, right? Which they have a right to do. Don't get me
Absolutely.
wrong, right? They have a right to do that. But we as Americans, we understand, okay, if that does happen, what does that do to the cost of our goods? What does that do to, and ultimately it just feels like the people always have to pay for problems and decisions that like they didn't create. right? Like
Yeah.
there are people in government offices making a lot of decisions on behalf of millions of people, and the people ultimately pay the cost,
For
right? Like
sure.
on both sides, right? I understand that like Cuba was extremely reliant on Venezuela, right?
Yeah.
Prior to their president being extracted, right? I think that now that United States is like taking control over everything, United States and Cuba has had a long-standing relationship that was not like the United States and Cuba are not friends. They
Yeah.
haven't been friends for a long time.
This,
So now that Venezuela is under control of the United States, what is that? What kind of place does that put? Like, what does that do for Cuba? Right? Like, what
yeah.
happens to those people that depend on? They get all their oil from Venezuela,
Yeah.
right? So now, you know what I'm saying? It's just there's
That makes
ripple
sense.
effects in all of it. But it's all about just global power.
So, do you think it was the right decision that we did that, or we shouldn't have did that?
Excuse me. I don't think it's a matter of it's
Like, okay,
hard, bro.
if you was the president,
Hmm.
of course, like he has a more bird's eye view because it's stuff we don't know, right?
Right,
But if
right.
you was the president, would you have made that move?
I would never be the president. I would never be the
I would never
president.
be, okay,
I would
Neil. Hey,
never. I would never.
they put you in that suit and tie. You
Bro,
in that White
I
House. What you
would
doing,
never
Neil?
be the president. I just think like, bro, what are we talking about? It just I
Would you
don't
do it though?
what I do if like
Hypothetically,
hypothetically if I
yeah,
was in those same shoes. Um I don't know because I guess my first thought is like I'm exploring like alternatives. Like, okay, what would happen if, like, what happens to America in realistic scenario where we didn't do that, right? Like long term, if we just kept going how we was, what would have happened, right? And would that alternative been drastically worse? Is
yeah.
kind of what my first question would be. So I think that's why it's like, nah, I don't even know. I would have to like really analyze that risk and figure out, and then I would make a lot of the decisions based off of like, what ultimately is best for our people. And I know that like, most people make the argument, hey, Trump is doing what he thinks is right for the American people, and that's what we will want out of any leader. But it's just hard when we play the right wrong politics. It's like everything could be looked at so subject.
Nah,
So
for
like
sure. I agree.
there's a group of people that'll say he's doing the right thing. There's a group of people that say he isn't. Um, and
I think I
that's
would do it though.
you would.
I would do it
Yeah,
because
it's not
strategically,
surprising.
yeah. Hey, strategically, we got to go accomplish that mission from a like if they selling our adversaries oil
Hmm.
and that puts us in a bad position, why wouldn't we do that? Especially like you said, we have a track record of doing it. This ain't nothing new. I
Hmm.
don't know. I haven't done all my research. We've done this on the Western Hemisphere before.
1,000, bro. Like, oh well, I think it's probably first on the Western, but like we've done it in Iran.
Yeah, for
We've
sure.
done it like it's the
Yeah,
same. It's the same tactic, the same play. I seen somebody say on TikTok in a comment. They said, the United States is just one big oil company with a military. And I'm like,
yeah.
damn. If you look at it like that, if you look at us as just like an oil company with like big guns, you understand how we exert our dominance over the world, right?
And our currency is backed by the Saudi Arabian oil or Middle Eastern oil. So without oil, what is our dollar?
And what happens when that's threatened?
And
What position do you put us in when that's threatened?
what is happening right now, Neil? It's being threatened.
Hmm.
Like like Saudi Arabia and the Middle East is trying to make decisions like, do we want to stay back in the dollar? I don't know if this was true or not, but I seen like China had bought a whole bunch of oil from the Middle Eastern countries,
Hmm.
like with their currency.
Hmm.
So it's like we got in a position where our back against the wall. It's like if this about to happen, if we don't do nothing, our currency is gonna fall. And to your point, from a country perspective, how can you dominate? Through money and through military action, like through military power and through controlling the money.
Mm.
So if we, first off, I mean, our military power, I don't know, but I don't know if we're still the biggest superpower. They say, hey, since we did that, we better than, Russia and China and
I
stuff.
just
But
feel like the whole domination mindset is what leads to all the problems that we have in the world. I think that there is a completely different frame that most people are not willing to adopt when it comes to their worldview. I think that sometimes we I don't know, when we look at like global politics from a standpoint of like dominance and not just like from like a humanitarian standpoint of just like, bro, we all just people on this earth,
Yeah.
like that's where things become problematic because I think when you look at like what differs between me, you, and like the random people that might be outside of this room, it's
Uh,
not much. All of us are still humans that operate and
Absolutely.
possess the same functions. We all got dreams we want to chase. We all got family that we want to fight for, people
Hmm.
that we willing to, you know, like do whatever it takes for. And that's the same across the world. You could
Agreed.
find, you know, anybody that's around our age, or it don't even matter, all around the world, most human beings have similar motives, right? And we all just want to live a decent life, right? I don't think
100%.
like I think that it is the job of media to create division, to create separation, right? Because those things create worry, right? When you're in like those things create opportunity,
Yep.
right? And when we live in a world that's so driven by capitalism, I think that I don't know, like we diminish from our humanity, just we chip away at it day in and day out with these actions that we take that are really just based off of money and financial like incentive.
So I got a question, food for
Go ahead.
thought. Do you think dominance is not like trying to dominate somebody else is not natural to our species or natural in terms of like being alive?
I think if you put us in like if we was animals, yeah, like if this was an animal kingdom, right? But I think because we all, not all, well, I don't know. I think
Yeah.
because we possess the ability to consciously reason, that puts us in a different space. That allows us to operate from, gives us the choice to at least
Yeah.
operate with humanity, right? Because dominance, that is a choice then, right? In the lion don't have a choice, right? In the animal kingdom, like they don't have a choice. It's like they don't have the conscious decision to make the choice. For us, it's like, bro, if I want to step on that nigga neck over there, like
Yeah.
I that's a choice.
100%. But would you say it's innate in animals to do that? Like it's in their innate nature?
Mm-hmm.
I would say it's in humans' innate nature. Because since we were since humans been on the planet, that's kind of what we've been on. Because I feel like if you don't try to dominate somebody, and we're talking about from a
Mm-hmm.
nationalistic
Mm-hmm.
country versus country perspective.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't try to dominate, somebody gonna try to dominate you.
I think that's a European mindset. Like
Why
that's
you
some,
think that?
I think that's something that like no for real. I think I really think that's a European mindset. Like I don't think that okay. I don't think that we always thought like that. I think a lot of our thoughts today are like rebranded ideas that we that got passed on to us through trauma, through slavery. Like why do black people beat their kids? Right? Like where did that come from? Where do we learn that sort of disciplinary action? We learned
Okay.
that from slavery, right? Like certain things, it's like you don't and if you want to lose those habits, like you got to go against the frame of mind that brought that type of problem solving to you. So I think like okay, um, yeah, I mean that's that.
But even if you go back to like the Roman Empire,
Mm-hmm,
we talking about BC,
mm-hmm.
this was happening. So it's like,
That's
and I,
European. Rome is in Europe. Like what I'm saying is those are
so
that
when
is a
when did the shift happen?
that
That's
is
what I'm
a
saying.
that is a mindset of lack. When you come from a mindset of abundance, you don't have to fight. You don't have to dominate because there's more than enough resources to go around,
Yeah.
right? I think, and I don't know, like I have to, this has to be fact checked as well. But I personally believe that it is in our nature, melanated people, black people across the world, indigenous people to their land. I feel like it's in our nature to be communal, right? Like what comes natural to us amongst each other, we learn dominance, right? We learn that stuff that we learn, but the stuff that come natural to us is community, love, right? I think, and I'm talking about us, right?
Okay.
I can't speak about the other communities, but I'm being real
Yeah.
because I know that like just think about the mindset of somebody that like that migrate not migrated but like evolved from Europe, right? If you evolved, if you're Caucasian, you evolved from like the Caucasus Mountains, right? Like it was cold,
Yeah.
there was not an abundance of resources, right?
Hmm.
Um, if you evolved from that, then I understand the take, not sharing mentality. But if
Okay.
you evolve from a place like West Africa, where at a point in time there's abundance of resources, there's oil underneath the ground, there's fruit on the trees, whatever you could think of, you can just go get it,
For sure.
right? You don't have to hoard resources because the earth provides,
Yep.
right? When you're coming from a standpoint of that, I think that um you don't have, that's why I feel like ancient like Africans were so taken back by like Europeans when they first came into Africa, because it's like we're not even used to, like we don't even see the world the same way. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
that's why I think like it was so much confusion between how did we become slaves? How do we get taken from one point to another? Is because like we really were two different types of people that saw the world completely different. Where
Yeah.
one person would be willing to give you the shirt off my back and bring you into my house and feed you and treat you like, like a brother. You got another group of people that's willing to put you on the menu. Like, if I'm
Yeah.
hungry enough, we're gonna eat you. Like
Yeah.
that, we don't come like that's a different world. But
Okay.
I think that over time, right, when Europeans ultimately control the world, control the banks, control the money, control the school systems, how are these thought processes introduced to us? So sometimes I just question like some of our motives, like when we are pushing like imperialism, it's like where do we get that from? Because I don't think that's natural to us.
Gotcha. So playing devil advocate and kind of my mindset is two things. Of course, I need research on this as well, but we had tribes in Africa.
Hmm.
So I don't know if tribes fought other tribes, but it could be European programming. But in the movies, they fight each other. Could
Hmm.
be European
Hmm.
programming.
Hmm.
Another thing, is we got sold into slavery.
Hmm.
So it wasn't like so the tribe leaders sold us into slavery. So is that not greed? Is that not a hierarchy? Because I think we also have to talk about hierarchy and how that is a part of even in African culture. Hierarchy is a thing.
Hmm.
I'm the king,
Hmm.
you the peasant, you
Hmm.
the farmer, you this, you that. So with hierarchy, I feel like also becomes dominance because if I'm the king, I tell you what to do. Like if I'm the king, so in the tribe they had kings and queens and all of that, like African king, African queen. So it's hierarchy and dominance, kind of like you don't feel like that's on the same plane.
Um, I think so. What you're saying is true. There is, hierarchy. There's kings, there's queens. There's going to be a leader of a tribe. There's the warriors and generals, and
Yeah,
regardless, right? There are men that protect the women and children.
for sure.
Period. Right. And most of the disputes, from what I understand, it's normally land. Normal stuff. I really do think that's
Yeah,
normal, right? But when um the world that we live in isn't that simple anymore. Excuse me. I think when you introduce like money, and because you got to think like, bro, money is not even real.
it's not.
It's not even real. But you got people that die over it. They work their whole life for it. They risk their life for it.
Yeah,
Like it's but it's not real. It's
nice.
intent, like it's not real.
Yeah,
So I don't know. I think that when you introduce like when you put so much value in something that's not even real, that takes away from
humanity.
humanity. That
Yeah,
takes away from me looking at you as a person, as opposed to looking at you as just a
paycheck.
sale or a
Yeah,
check or
yeah.
whatever, or just a
Nah, for sure.
bug to step on so that I can get. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
for
Like
sure.
when